Are you making things harder than they have to be? I know you are. How can you tell? 'Cause you're human. We humans tend to make things harder than they have to be much of the time. Not always, not always. Sometimes we fall into that flow state, but a lot of the time we overthink things, we self-sabotage unconsciously, we play out trauma loops from our past in ways that frustrate ourselves and everyone around us. Am I ringing any bells? Getting any dings, dings, dings of recognition in your brain? Hi, I'm Angel. You can call me Auntie Angel. And I'm writing a book about emotional fitness and, living my own life in my own way, as one does. And in that, I run into a lot of self-sabotage in my own life and in the lives of the people around me. Even just right now, I'm getting text messages from a good friend of mine who's been my friend for more than 35 years, and I've watched him propagate the same self-sabotaging behavior through all that time. And, that's just one example. But I bet that if you have people in your life for decades, that you will see those patterns of self-sabotage. And it's remarkable, isn't it, that it's so easy to see in other people and so impossible sometimes to see in ourselves. So I want to invite you to just suspend your belief and your disbelief for a short time. I'm going to sit back because that squat is getting to my knees, and consider the possibility that you are the biggest problem in your own life. Now, I know right now your brain's probably coming up with all the things you want to tell me about why it's not your fault and it's somebody else's fault, and it's the consequences of many, many things, like where you were born or how you were born or what happened to you when you were a child or what happened to you last week or what happened to you this morning. And also, like I was saying, let's suspend that. I'm not saying that it's not true that things have happened to you that make it easy to justify certain types of thoughts and beliefs and behaviors, or maybe even feel impossible not to have certain thoughts and feelings and behaviors. And I'm also saying that if you zoom your perspective out, if you add some space to your perspective, if you soften up just a little bit on that story that you're telling yourself about what's true and not true, and just suspend it is the word that I like. Just put a little bit more space around it and consider the possibility, like just put enough space around it for it to be possible that that isn't the whole truth and nothing but the truth. That perhaps there are more perspectives to any situation. There is more time space to all the situations. And back to my original point, it is possible that by collapsing your perspective and holding on to a belief so tightly and being sure that you know what's true, and that your story about why you're behaving or believing a certain thing is the true story. If you can put a little space around that and just notice what that is doing to you and what it would do to you if you didn't believe that, if that wasn't the whole truth, if that wasn't the only truth, if perhaps it wasn't even a little bit true. So I'm going to go back to my friend who's been texting me today just as an example, but there are many, many in my life, and I'm sure there are many in your life. And my friend has been dealing with health issues chronically, as I have, and as many humans, most of the humans that I know do, at least in this culture the Western culture, as it's called, that I'm in. And over the decades of him telling himself the story that he is suffering because he deserves it, or that he, like just today, what he texted me last week was that he hadn't slept in 5 days and he wasn't able to. And then what he texted me again today was that he hadn't slept in 5 days, slept for 4 hours, then 6 more days, and that he was starting to think that that was fine. Now, that might sound like not so bad and not so certain, but because I know him for 35 or so years now, and I'm able to see this pattern from the outside of, again, self-sabotage, where telling his brain that story and even writing it down via text to me and putting that into the universe is reinforcing that belief in his body, and his brain, his body is doing its best to live out that story that he's telling himself. And here's the real point of this long ramble, is we can change the story that we're telling ourselves and thereby change our entire lives. Look around at this fantastic mega sculpture that I'm inside of. I built this with my own 2 hands, these ones right here. It's called The Head Hut. I wrote a book about it and published it on Amazon, and you can find it if you're interested. Here's a copy of it. I got many different copies of it. It's in black and white and color. And anyway, the point is that if I had told someone else what I was going to do, and in fact, I did try to tell a couple people what I was planning to do, and they told me it couldn't be done. And in fact, if I would have spent too much time reveling in all the ways that it couldn't be done, I wouldn't have done it. But there's a famous quote that's something to the effect of, those who say it's impossible should get out of the way of those who are doing it, right? I'm not sure that's a very good version of that quote, but I'm sure you've heard some version, something similar. And the point is that I think Henry Ford is famous for the quote of, he who says he can't and he who says he can, both are correct. Again, I butchered that quote. I'm like the quote butcherer around here. You're welcome. I'm patting myself on the back. I'm feeling good lately, and that is something that I have been working on cultivating in myself. I spend hours every day working on my own belief system and my thoughts and actions, so that I can feel good. And that's really the point. I have spent a lot of my life not feeling good, and so I can very much sympathize and empathize with any of you who are not feeling good, and with my friend who's not feeling good. And I've had episodes of not sleeping. And that is why I can say, I believe that the stories we're telling ourselves have a lot to do with the lives we're living. And if you find yourself repeating something like, I can't sleep, or I'm depressed, or, some self-defeating phrase like that. Now, I'm not saying that you can never say those things or that they're not true. I've been depressed and I have had trouble sleeping a lot. However, what I'm saying is that repeating that, writing it down, if you catch yourself saying it a lot, if you notice that that's what you're telling your friends or that's what you're writing about frequently, do some shifting, do some deliberate shifting. It sometimes is difficult at first. You got to force yourself, sort of fake it till you make it kind of a thing sometimes. But with a caveat, I like to give a pinky finger asterisk. It's not fake it till you make it. It's push through it. It's buck up, buttercup, and do the thing until it gets easier. It's hard at first, but find 3 things that you're grateful for example. Tell yourself 3 things that you are succeeding at and doing well, or 1 thing, or find 1 thing that you are slightly better or not worse at today, and start there. Start where it's true, not fake, and build momentum in the direction that you want to go. If you are building momentum in a direction that you don't want to go, even if you say it's the direction you don't want to go, if you're continuing to talk about it and build momentum, you will go that direction. I think the universe doesn't really believe us when we say we do or we don't. It just pays attention to what we pay attention to. I say it broadly. It's what you pay attention to is what you're going to get. And so if you pay attention to the ways that you are not functioning at your best, if it's not in the guise of getting better, then you're going to continue to get worse and worse at that. Whereas if you pay attention to the ways that you're getting better, and in that can include the things that you want to improve on, but not from a stance of I can't improve on it, I'm not getting better, but rather from the stance of, oh, I notice that I have room for improvement here, and I'm so glad that I have the insight and the tools and the time to practice a skill or a technique or ask for help, whatever it is that helps us move in that direction that we want to move in. I hope that made some sense. I hope it was of some value to you. Let me know if it was. I really love to read all your comments, and I will do my best to reply to all of them. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my Etsy store. There should be a link down there, or you can type in Sleeping Dragons Company, and I should come up for you. Check out my books on Amazon, including The Head Hut, if you're interested in finding out more about this lovely mega sculpture and some of the other things I do. And as always, make sure and be good to yourself. Love yourself, because you are worth it. Thanks for being you. Thanks for letting me be me. Stay free.